the quicker you identify the feeling of burnout, the better. But there are a few things that you can do that are very easy remedies. And I'm going to go through three major categories today while we're doing this live. Three major categories that will help you deal with and manage burnout. First off, so it's so funny because two completely different people that don't even know each other were asking them, as far as I know, were asking about the feeling of burnout. Now, I know them. They just both happen to be in sales, but you don't have to be in a performance-based position in order to get burnt out. Burnout can happen if you're a stay-at-home mother running and chasing after your kids all day, waking up in the middle of the night to take care of them. But burnout is a real thing. Now, I've come up with, there's so many different ways to talk about burnout because it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. I think sometimes people are too hard on themselves and they think because they're experiencing some type of emotion that isn't normal for them, particularly high producers. High performing people tend to realize the feeling of burnout more often than others. It just comes with the territory. But first thing you got to realize is there's nothing wrong with you when you're going through burnout, because it may happen in your production. It may start to happen in your energy levels or your mood. One of the ways to test if you're feeling burnt out is if you're walking around with kind of a pissed off edge all the time. Little things start to bother you. Everybody seems to be annoying you. You can't stand it when people over dramatize or go on talking for a long time. It can show up in your family. It can show up in your calls with your experiences with your customers. It can show up in all types of ways. And the quicker you identify the feeling of burnout, the better. But there are a few things that you can do that are very easy remedies. And I'm going to go through three major categories today while we're doing this live. Three major categories that will help you deal with and manage burnout. First off, I want you to know if you're experiencing burnout, it probably means it's because you are a driven person. There's something in your life that you've been passionate about that means a lot to you, that you're working hard towards, even if you're not where you want to be right now. That creates the feeling of burnout. Okay, it's kind of like the feeling of guilt. You don't experience guilt in areas that you don't have high standards for yourself in. So I want you to start thinking of burnout as something that's actually healthy to go through. I've been through it many times in my career, and I want to talk about these three things. By the way, I'm keeping my eye on the chat for everybody jumping in. Thank you for those of you that are in here right now. I'm going to light it up. Okay, yes, I've been mentoring companies behind the scenes for 20 years now. All right. And you learn a lot of good things there, but I want you to know that there's no coach or guru or whatever you want to call it who can do what they do if they're not passionate, extremely passionate about what they do, especially when they're doing nearly the same thing for 20 years. The other thing that you need to realize is anybody who's going to do what I'm doing for this long and continuing to do just on bigger levels, you spend most of your time as a student, not a teacher. Constantly learning, constantly becoming aware. The more you become aware, the more you realize how much you have to learn. And it's just kind of a really fun journey that you get to be on. But getting back to the feeling of burnout. So this can happen for a number of reasons. It can happen simply because you're a hard worker, you show up all the time, and you're putting in your effort. You've been doing it for years, possibly. And you're getting to a point where maybe you've done well. Whether you've done well financially or not, some of you are top producers or known as top performers in almost everything that you touch. In fact, the two people who asked this particular question, right, and it almost came in during the same hour. That's the funny thing. They both are in sales, and I know them to both be high performers. Okay. One of them has been a top performer no matter what company she goes to. The other individual has been a top performer in the mortgage business for years. Even when the going got tough, he still pulled through and was able to have consistent performance in production and recognized by his company. So these two people that are asking about burnout are people that are probably have a reputation for showing up and going hard every single day, which is a good sign. And I know a lot of people, particularly in sales, in management, in any type of position that requires a lot of detailed work, a lot of emotional management, a lot of consulting customers, a lot of, as we say, counseling people sometimes on a daily basis, even though you got your own stuff going on. So I want to cover these three things. And the third one that I'm going to cover is the one that is often not noticed because it's a big one. And it may require some significant changes in your life. Okay. So I'll get to number 3 in a minute, but let's start with the easy one. And I'm watching the channel right here for the questions as well. I'll try to keep an extra 5 to 10 minutes toward the last part of this 30-minute wrap on Q&A Live with me for some open Q&A or anything that may have crossed your mind while I'm speaking with you. And it's the idea that it may be as simple as this. You know how everybody's like, I need a vacation. I need a vacation. I've been working so hard. We need a vacation. Well, I don't think that is the remedy. And this is coming from a guy who's a little biased, okay? Because I haven't taken a personal vacation in over 12 years other than family trips and business trips. Those are the only times that I've taken trips. But what I have noticed, because I've been through that burnout, that 5 to 7 year period of my career, if you can relate, to where I'm doing pretty well, but it's so repetitive. It's so repetitive and I'm not feeling challenged anymore. The simple remedy number one, is to do a staycation. Yes, I said staycation. If you have the bandwidth and if it's appropriate in your line of work or business, you may want to consider communicating with your employer or whatever your situation is, especially if you're a consistent person and you show up, just be very transparent and be like, look, I need a staycation. And I would recommend taking like a week or 2 weeks if necessary. I think a week is enough. And focus on everything else in your life, getting your house in order, getting your gym back in order, getting your fitness or your meals, maybe cleaning out the house. Just get away from the playing field for a little bit. For a week, don't tap in, don't keep making phone calls. I understand some of you are in high ticket businesses like real estate. You can't do that. So manage it the best that you can. But it literally just might mean that you need to be okay with taking a break. Take a break, stay here, because vacations, unless you're going to like the home in the deserts to completely detach and no cell phones, right? If you're extreme like that, fine. I don't need that type of extremism as far as detaching. A little bit is good for me. But if you go on a vacation, I don't know, you guys, you know, I love the travelers. Like I have a lot of friends that love traveling. I love hearing the stories, beautiful places, cultures, etc. But traveling is also chaos. It can also be exhausting by the time you get back. The flights, the time frames, sometimes you get sick because you're traveling, your immune system, your sleep schedules, and then you get back and you're literally back to work within a day or two. So you tend to burn out even quicker when you come back. And then you're like, I need another vacation. And you've only been working for 3 months. And so it's because you haven't really taken a break. And when you take a break and you move yourself away from the playing field, something very magical happens. You start to think, you start to have inner thinking, whether it's while you're cleaning your house or spending some more time with your kids, or maybe just driving around, maybe getting things in order, maybe taking care of yourself, getting organized a little bit, whatever it is, you tend to think. In fact, I do some of my best thinking when I'm cleaning. Why don't you hire a housekeeper? I have one that comes every now and then, but sometimes I'm doing it intentionally. So relax, all you entrepreneur YouTubers out there. All right. But the other thing is, what's up, people? I see you guys logging in here. Bunch of friends. Thank you, guys. I'll see you. I'll call you out in a little bit here. But you might just need to take a break for a week or so. You do some thinking. And if you're like me, what will happen is when you get back, you'll just feel a little fresh, a little recharged, a little renewed. Maybe you might even step up your game a little bit. And in many cases, myself and a lot of my friends and my coworkers and peers, you know, in the business world have said that they actually missed it. They actually missed being back in the hustle. As someone, it gave them a moment to appreciate it. Okay, it gave them a moment to appreciate it. And maybe during that time, they're having conversations or watching how the world really is. And it gives you some time to breathe and then go back with a much higher level of gratitude. So the simple solution is take a week off, people. Take a week off if you can afford to. And if it's appropriate for you to do so, just do it. And don't go your ass anywhere. Just take a week off and work on you or rest. That's about it. Okay? Magic will happen there. Now, it can get a little tricky with burnout, okay? Because before I go into number 2, which is a big one, this is the one that I had to do. This is one of the ones that I had to do. Okay. And I know if you're a high performer, if you have a high performer mindset, you're a very consistent person. You show up all the time. You've got those sort of, you've just got this machine mentality where you're just getting after it and you actually enjoy You actually enjoy when people are like, you're always working and put your phone down. Do you really have to do that right now? Even on Saturday? It's Sunday morning. You're just right. You almost enjoy it because you realize that it does differentiate you from the rest. If you have that as one of your superpowers, then it may be time to do this. It may be time to raise your standards. What do I mean by raise your standards? There's 2 ways and 3 ways to raise your standards, because the idea of raising standards is too vague. You can define it a bunch of different ways. But when I say raise your standards, it may be that you have reached or have come close to reaching an area of life with your family, your living situation, maybe your extended situation, being your social circle or what have you. It may be that you've just been there for too long. That was what was happening with me, is I had done pretty well, and, I'm in the top, 1% or 0.5% of the country, or, most social groups, and I'm doing pretty well. But anytime you have basically stagflation, if you want to call it that, right, in the progress of your career, you can attempt, or you will start to realize the feeling of burnout more frequently. And what might be happening here is you're not actually burning out. Instead, what's happening is it's time for you to raise your standards. Now, here's what I recommend when raising your standards. Yes, there's a generic way to do it, which literally goes, it's a decision. It's like, okay, I'm getting a little bored of the same old routine. And so even though I'm doing well, I'm going to raise my expectations of what I want to produce, how efficient I'm going to be, how influential I am in my business or in my company or in my industry. Or maybe I'm going to adapt to, and I wrote this down, a lot more progress in reformatting your skill set. That was a big one for me, both early in my coaching career, sales career, coaching career, and then recently in my coaching career, be it over the past 2 to 3 years. I realized, dude, it's time for me to level up my game. One of the reasons that I'm feeling this way is because I'm not studying, I'm not pursuing, I'm not becoming as aggressively as I used to when I was first excited getting into this business. That excitement period where you got something to prove, you need to start making money, you've got a lot of bills to pay, you're like trying to get your shit together, right? That honeymoon period can go away. And so I was like, it's time to just make a decision to level up my skills. That's what needed to happen, to raise your standards. So that's the quick one. Now here's another one. And this is one that I talk about in a video that I just put up literally less than a week ago. Okay, when I talk about what I did when I was in a slump and how I got out of it. You can go check it out. It's on YouTube. The link is here somewhere on the profiles, okay? Stronger, Smarter, Richer show. But it was to go out and taste a new dream. You need to go out and taste a new dream, meaning you've got to find something that makes you feel pursuant, that makes you feel aggressive, that makes you feel like there's something fun or something meaningful or something exciting to look forward to. Because you may have just enough luxuries or lifestyle or necessities in your life that you haven't really gone out to like sort of test drive anything new in your life. I don't want to make this a tangibles or a materialistic conversation, but it might be that. It might be that fixating yourself. Now, I'm a little bit aggressive. There was a point in my career where what I did was to force it, because at the time, I didn't have as many responsibilities as a lot of you guys do. And so I literally within 1 week did everything I could to increase my living standards and my expenses by 30%. So I forced it. And then for me, I'm a little bit crazy, right? You guys should know that by now. But what that did is it made me want to go out there and get it, because I didn't want to have to sacrifice my well-being and my financial stability or my reserves or my savings in order to do that. And so you might need to get out there and taste something new. What is the next thing that you want to do? Where is the next place you want to go? It could be something as simple as something that you look at as your dream house or your dream car, or the city or the area you want to live in, or the people that you want to be networked with. A mastermind or a group that you listen to and you watch online and you love them, but you haven't done anything to get out there and be a part of their group. It might be time to raise your game in that area. To go out and start sampling, start tasting, start doing the open houses, start doing the test drives, start networking in bigger circles, smarter people, bigger things. Do that. Don't let it take control of you to where you're just a copycat and want to fit in. You guys know that's a big pet peeve of mine. but do it because you know that you're going to need something at a higher level to bring out the beast in you, to bring out the drive that you once had when you started whatever you started. Your job, your sales career, your leadership position, your company, your marriage, your relationship with yourself, your fitness, your body, your income, your surroundings. Do whatever you need to do. Go out there and start sampling, start tasting. Because if you're in burnout and it's not an energy thing and it's a frustration because of lack of growth and progress. Be careful with this topic, because if you are burning out and you're not just doing some simple things to tend to it, it can spiral and it can take you through something even worse. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And so I'm checking the chat right here. What's up, people? I'm going to go into number 3. Number 3 is intense. And, it might cause a lot of you to really rethink where you're at right now in your life or career. Not everybody, but there's some of you who aren't really searching deep enough for the answers. Okay. And you just know that you need some type of shift in your life, your career. Maybe I put right down here that you might love your industry. You might really love your company or what you're doing. And so you don't need to make a change in that. You need to pay attention to more of the other categories. All right. Like me, I really love what I do. Yes. I don't wake up 1000% motivated naturally every day. That's a practice. It's something you work on. My faith comes into it. My fitness comes into it. All those things, my friendship circles and so forth. But the number 3 thing that I wrote down right here, and let me just check my notes real quick because I want to make sure on raising your standards, I covered everything. There's one more thing I wanted to cover when it comes to raising your standards. And I'm also doing this one at the same time. I see you guys in here. What's up? Sal, what's going on, big man? I see you. Lou, what's going on? Caroline, what's going on? Ari, what's going on, man? Good to see you guys. And it was this. I needed to add other things that I work hard on. So my career is one thing, and I'm a little bit too passionate about my career. It has forced me and you to make sacrifices in other areas of your life. In some cases, okay? Balance it out. Be observant of your priorities and the people that need you. But you may need to take on some new hobbies. You may need to take something on other than work that challenges you. This is why you see entrepreneurs and the big boys, the Bezos of the world or whatever, right? Even some of your friends, all of a sudden they're doing jiu-jitsu, like our boy, our friend Carlton Dennis, right? Does jiu-jitsu. He's a former athlete and he's very involved in business and tax strategy, YouTube, so forth. He and many others that we know, but he knew if he didn't satisfy that itch, what he was doing, although it's amazing, it's going to get boring. Okay. So you need some other stuff going on in your life. A lot of you have hobbies or things that you've been putting off that you want to do, or sports or something you have an interest in that you haven't been pursuing. So you might want to pursue that and work on becoming an expert in that while you're doing your work, while you're in your career. I've added 3 or 4 hobbies that I'm like, you know what? This is really cool. Okay. This is really cool. Like I'm taking them seriously. I'm booking these things weekly. I'm doing myself to get in there and do it, right? The gym is just one of them. I got a few others, but if you're experiencing burnout, you might be putting all of your energy and all your eggs and all your gifts in one basket. No bueno. You cannot sustain that for a long period of time. Let's get to the nitty gritty, because this one, number 3, when it comes to burnout, is one that might require a little more thinking, a little more searching, a little more planning. And that is to make the jump. Make the jump, whatever that is. And I'm going to share something with you that I don't share very often because it doesn't fit into the context of my business talks that often, unless I'm really having a deep one-on-one with a business executive or something like that, C-level people and everyone. And that is that your soul is calling you upward. If you keep getting frustrated, you keep getting burnt out, if you're annoyed by the people around you, if you feel like you're not yourself, you feel like you're stuck, you enjoy what you're doing, you're grateful for everything that you have, if there's something missing, it probably means that your soul is calling on you, meaning there's something of bigger nature or possibly a different direction that you are ready to do. your skill set is ready, the time frame in your life is ready. I shouldn't say ready, because then you guys will start looking for the perfect time to get ready. But you may need to make the jump. And I put right down here, I put your soul is calling you upward. That's happened to me. In fact, that happened to me a year ago when I was like, I need to make a change. I need to make a change. And I tried to dabble in a few different businesses. And then I realized, no, what I need to do is raise my game and impact more people on the thing that I love in my heart, which is why I'm starting to do this stuff right now. Okay. So that's number 3. It's really intense. It might mean you need to make the jump. And for those of you who had questions, right? I see Ali he's like target, right? Bullseye. That might be it. And I have those moments where it's just nighttime or your body's tired. Okay. When your body is tired, you tend to have different thoughts than when you wake up in the morning. And if you're thinking to yourself sometimes, I'm good. I love what I've done. I love where I'm at. I'm appreciative. But what am I doing? Like, where am I going next? If you find that you're having those thoughts frequently, time to switch gears and really do some thinking on it, maybe do some praying on it, and consider what is next in your life. For me, it's impact, making bigger impact, wider impact, and becoming more intelligent, more understanding, and more flexible with my connection with people so that I can continue to serve and, deliver what it is that I'm trying to deliver for them. And that might be one that we could probably do another 20 sessions or episodes on, okay? But that was it, man. Burnout is a real thing, okay? It's annoying. And I want to get back to number 1. Sometimes you just need a staycation. You don't need a vacation. You don't need to go spend $5,000 in Europe. You don't need to go to Cabo for 3 days and party. And if you want to do that, go to it. It's your life, whatever. I've done it, right? You guys know that. But a staycation, just take a break. Take a break. Don't feel guilty to take a break. If you could afford to take a break for a week or so, 10 days, take a break. Have the conversation with your team. Have the conversation with your company. Some of you are the company. You're like, I can't take a break right now. I can't take a break right now. Like, I'm in the middle. I'm growing my company. Well, then that's the choice you made. So see it through. Pay the price. Uncle G who says pay the price now so you can pay any price later. Then if you're feeling burnt out and you're frustrated and your energy's drained and you're tired, but you're also in the middle of a growth period, a critical growth period in your life, career, or business as an entrepreneur or a leader, then you need to do this. Suck it up and see it through. Find ways to balance your life out. Little fitness, little time with family. Make sure your nutrition is on point as you can, okay? Pay attention to the details. Don't ask for massive results in your life, your income, your career, or your people, and then not pay attention to being passive about the details that matter the most. They're the one. It's your progress, massive growth is in the details. Growth is in the details. All right, I got a little bit more time here. We got a few minutes. I know some of you are still here. There's actually only about 5 of you in here right now, which is okay. I know that a lot of you that are in here are actually friends of mine. Does anybody have any questions for me that have to do with the personal side of your business, your career, the sales side, the leadership side, getting a promotion? When do I look for a new job? When do I know I need to make the jump? What are the signs? What are the patterns? Anybody have any questions? While I'm taking a look at the screen right here, I want you guys to know I'm actually recording this on another camera, and this will go on YouTube. So if you're going to watch this on IG or something later, just know there's another full version, right, in YouTube format that's going to be dropping probably within a week or so after we do these lives. So if you've missed, a few things, or it's Wednesday night and you just don't have the time to, get it in with me right here at 6:30 p.m., you're in a different time zone. I am recording these on a different device. I'll give them to my team. They're doing some really cool edits, behind the scenes. Can't wait for you guys to start seeing it get better and better and better. But look for it soon. Stronger, Smarter, Richer, or Joe Coach SSR on YouTube. You can also go to Stronger, Smarter, Richer on Instagram and get more there. Abraham's got a question. It says, I got a new sales job and I'm in the honeymoon phase. All right, cool. Any tips to push through and make ends meet this early on? All right, well, it kind of depends what industry you're in, because a lot of the industries that I'm coaching, you don't really start getting any decent paychecks till like 90 to 120 days in. So you got to ask yourself, like, okay, can I float my bills during that time? And I've seen people have to temporarily tap into your savings. But here would be my advice. My advice would be to practice more than you play. During the honeymoon phase, when I'm coaching companies, and many of them have been around for years, so we do our best to begin this after I start my program. But when we bring new hires in, we make practice more important than them playing. Meaning, if your company isn't forcing you to be in 2 to 3 constant training sessions a week, 1 to 2 for like your first 3 months, that's to make sure your performance is good. To make sure you're not in a company or in a business for 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, and you're nowhere near the paycheck that you thought you were going to get during the honeymoon period, quote unquote. Okay. So what I would say, and what I did, especially when starting my coaching career, is I made notes on what I was learning, make notes on your product, find the best practices, study your sales scripts, study your objections, get to know everything. Treat it like a business, not a job. Because if you're in sales, you are an intrapreneur. You are a profit share person with the company based on your performance. So what you kill, you eat. So I would be obsessive about studying and practicing, not just at work. I would do it at home. I would budget time in the evenings, literally put it on your calendar. Another thing that I've done, and I encourage others to do, and some of the sales professionals I work with have done this, is I will record things on my cell phone. Me practicing, me scripting it out, me doing call flow, me on a phone call, and I'll play it back while I'm driving. So for the first 3 months at the job, I am constantly in practice mode. I'm not only waiting to practice when I'm talking to customers. And new hire training for 1 week or 2 weeks ain't gonna cut it. You ain't gonna retain that much. So you have to continue to practice. And I would continue to do this aggressively for a short time. 3 months, 2 months, 6 months. That's a short time. Most of us spend 16 years, 18 years, 20 years in school, and we're not using any of those skills. But we're not patient with ourselves when we really want to do well. Go hard on the studying, go hard on the practicing, go hard on the role playing within your first month at a company, second month at a company. Don't wait until you're frustrated with your production and your mind is half checked out to become obsessive about taking action. If a company brings you in and you make a commitment to that company and you're in sales or any type of performance position, then take it upon yourself, as I say to the teams, don't wait for other adults to come by and dictate your personal standards. Become the person that wants the results that you're going for. That's a really good question, man. Eddie, my man Eddie. Guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but Eddie's literally doing almost all of my video projects for the past 5 years. What are the key signs that indicate someone or a company may not be the right fit to work with? Dude, the first one is you don't agree with their values. You see how they treat people or how they communicate or how they show up. The first one, you got it, Abraham. The first one is that you just don't get a vibe from them, man, right? They're always like promising you and pulling back, or they're always talking themselves up, their connections, their resources, their success stories. People that you are working with or talk themselves up all the time, especially in your line of work, Eddie, right? You're in your line of work, basically, if somebody is serious about a project, they're willing to pay you, do it, you do a great job, you serve your customer, you provide and exceed them with, exceed the results and so forth. But I would take a look at the core values of that person or that company, their reputation, their ability to pay, right? Their consistency in communicating with you. I would take a look at their responsiveness. I'm doing a video and either this weekend or next weekend on Saturday, because I really can only record like the YouTube stuff like Friday afternoon, Saturday or Sunday, because I'm, working with companies all through the week. But I'm doing a video on what it takes to gain respect and for people to respect your time. And it was a big one. And I have a couple of really cool stories about how even when I barely had any money in the bank, I learned those lessons and I made that correction, even though I was desperate for cash. And when I made a couple of those corrections, the tides changed. So Ali, you got one more for me. You got, what's the best way to focus on all the little details at work? So when I'm talking about little details at work, I usually start with measurability. So, like let me just use the mortgage industry as an example, which is an industry I spend about 40% of my time in. Yeah, 40%, not 80%. But I love that business. And I start with the measurables. So the measurables might be any type of lead generation I have coming in, any type of prospecting or lead generation I'm doing outward. I want to know how much time, how many calls I'm doing there. Then from that, I'm taking a look at, okay, from each of those categories, how many applications am I averaging per day, per week, per month? And then from those applications, I'm taking a look at how many STPs, how many credit pulls, or how many submissions I've gotten in, or disclosures out, disclosures in. Did I get contracts out without signatures? A lot of companies were bringing me in when 2022 came about because they're like, yeah, we're getting, 700 agreements out, but we're only getting like 130 back in. And so I would take a look at the measurables. And then when it comes to details, the next thing I work on, bro, is getting into the semantics of, or the details and the psychology of my sales calls, and really being measurable in where I'm spending my energy and my time. Because when you're good in sales, or you work for a company that trusts you, or you just kind of do your thing, you can stop measuring things. And when you stop measuring things, you might risk not seeing new challenges or new opportunities for you to skill up and overcome or learn that you haven't measured in a while. And there's usually 4 or 5 bases: first base, second base, third base, fourth base, whatever, in every industry. That has to go from when the opportunity originates all the way to when it is done, the customer's satisfied, and you've gotten paid. So you begin measuring those areas. You're welcome, Eddie. Love you, buddy. And then I would dive into the phone calls. Now, when I'm talking about details, if you want to use sales as an example, I'm talking about call recordings, understanding linguistics. Are your questions out of order? Are they too aggressive, too quick? Does your intro, your greeting, do the way you qualify people or communicate with people, is it very similar, like 80% similar to everyone else in your industry? Those types of things. If you're talking from a sales perspective, you got to do an audit. You got to do an audit on yourself. Dude, I've been a top producer on and off throughout my sales career. I wasn't a top producer all the time, but one of the things that high performers, check this out. This is going to be PG-13. But one of the things that high performers often do is something that I've named the top producer mind fuck. And the top producer mind fuck is you've gotten to a level where you're pretty good. Like, you're better than most people around you. Okay, and so what you've done is you've formed your own matrix around yourself. And so because you're in a state where you've done well, where you've performed well, or you're very credible, people depend on you, they don't really micromanage, like I said, let you do your thing. Be careful, because if you're in that, if you created a matrix of your own, then you're not going to have the ambition or the deep ambition to grow. And this is why a lot of people say surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, richer than you, or better at you at something that you are serious about, right? So those are just a few categories of the details that you might want to take a look at, right? And each one of those you could easily spend a few weeks or a month on. There's no need to rush. Time is going to pass by anyway. Ask yourself, how much time has passed by anyway with me not working on these things, without even working on them, without asking these questions, without being honest about them? Self-honesty, I'm rating as the most difficult skill in the world, self-honesty. But yeah, good stuff. Oh, my man. What's up, Sean? Coach, some of us live in our head all day. What's the best way to snap out of the rut if we're having a bad day at work? You walk up to that mofo, you slap the shit. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Right? If you're having a bad day at work. My man, we tend to choose... Yeah, yes, sir, Ali. Anytime, bro. Drop in, dude. Hit me up sometime, okay? Dude, you especially, you're in a very intense industry. And so the way I look at it is, when it comes to having bad days, if I'm having days, more wins than losses, I'm good. That's it. Because I understand the path that I chose. There's going to be some messed up days, or days that are so frustrating, or something you've poured so much energy into and people don't appreciate it, or it's difficult to communicate with them. It can even be clients, right? It can be politics in a company. But yeah, having bad days. And it may be, I'm not sure if you weren't here for the earlier half, but you may need a break. You may need a week or two off, not a vacation, just a break to work on and spend some time doing the things that you love or with the people that you love. Take a break, take a little breather, man. I know when you're burnt out or when you're just overwhelmed, you just, the time frame between getting pissed off just keeps getting narrower and narrower. Like I can't get a breather. I'm always upset about something. That's an indication that you need to step away for a bit. If you can afford to and if it's appropriate. All right. And if they come at you, let them know. But all right, I have an issue that arises every now and then when I'm on a call with a client. So sometimes I activate my pitching mood and can't align with the customer. How should I solve it? Oh my God, I totally get it. Your pitching mood, which is like now you're entering into like full persuasion. Is that what you mean? Like you're convincing now. And one of the things, I'm going to give you some aggressive ideas. You can unwind them and reverse engineer them yourself. But one of the sayings that I have when I'm teaching people the unarguable close, the core close, and other closes that I teach is that you don't want to win the argument and be right and lose the customer. You don't want to win the argument and then lose the customer, right? So somebody put on here baller busters. I hope I make it on there someday. I don't know. It's going to be pretty difficult considering the results that I've helped people get over the past 20 years. But it would be nice, that attention would be nice. But when you get into the close and you find that you're going into that sort of anxious, very persuasive tonality, this is more of a skill called flexibility. And it is not an easy skill, especially if you come from, a background like mine. And flexibility basically is your ability to control your tone, your state of mind, and your emotions, regardless of the circumstances. It basically means you have zero reaction and you're able to maintain control. And if anything, align even more so with the customer. Maybe spend significant amount of time first seeing things their way, supporting their point of view, reinforcing their point of view, putting yourself in their shoes without having a comma and then continuing with something where you're just trying to be more right than they are or show the benefit right away. And if you guys have coached me before, my number one rule of selling now is it's the one who understands their customer the most that always has the greatest impact. Not the one who believes in their product the most. That's important. Not the one who's memorized all the perfect liners and objections in their industry, although they can be helpful. That is not the most impactful person. The most impactful person is the one who's able to put themselves in the customer's shoes and understand everything that the customer is saying from their point of view, with their responsibilities, with their financial situation, with their goals in mind, with their previous experiences in mind, with their personality type in mind, with their age group in mind, all those things. The ability to remain flexible, stay in alignment with your customer, and be able to control your own anxiousness is probably one of the quickest dying skills in the world. And as any skill becomes rare, it becomes equally more valuable. 100%. Take a look at the TV. Turn on the media for a minute. Entertain yourself with it. Everybody wants to argue. Your customers are sick of it. They're sick of being persuaded. First, seek to understand them. Then, when you've done your diligence there, go ahead and transition them and help them to understand your perspective and how it plugs in. Number one reason people can't do this in their close is because they don't ask enough meaningful questions during their conversation with the customer before they recommend or push anything. And I often tell the companies that I work with, I said, if we change your comp plans, and I'll finish it up here in a minute because we're 10 minutes over. If I change your comp plan from commission and bonus based, tier based, and I said, instead, what we're going to do is we're going to use a machine or some emotional management or an AI tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to measure instead from the context of your conversation, how much you actually care about helping your customer make the best decision for them, not for your paycheck, not for your new car, not for your quota, not for your tier, not for the trophy or the president's dinner. If your main priority, and we scored you only on how much you cared about helping the customer to truly make the right decision, what do you think would naturally happen to all those numbers in your paycheck anyway? So that's where the number one rule of selling, my new one, was originated, is the one who understands the customer the most. I mean, the essence of the customer, not just qualifications or the product-based conversation. The one who understands the customer the most will always have the greatest impact. Thank you so much to everybody who's jumped on. I'm still early in the game. This is only live number 4 with the algorithms these days. You know, it is a mission to grow your audience, but I have a lot to share with you guys, and I plan on continuing to make the impact. So I wish you guys the best. God bless you, and good evening. I'm out. Dinner time.